You're listening to the Corporate Misfit Podcast with Brittany Darrington, where female entrepreneurs can get powerful tips and advice on how to start, launch, and grow their business.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to have you, Anya. Can't wait to talk all about PR and how you got started doing what it is that you do today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited I literally love going on about PR and all things business. So it's nice to have someone that wants to listen to it.
You know, PR is like a monster for so many people. And when they think about PR, they're like, okay, I got to go hire all of these people. I have to basically spend all my marketing budget, spend all my advertising budget on PR. And you're teaching people how to do their own. So can you tell us more about your business?
So I feel pretty passionately about the fact that people coming into the business space and the entrepreneurial space for the first time shouldn't be shut out of PR opportunities, because press can take your business from, well, I'm about to do a hand sign, but no, you can't do it. But it can really elevate your business, and it makes such a huge difference on so many different levels. And so I'm a journalist, an editor and a journalist for a number of different publications. I know you listed a couple of them just before. And I noticed that I get about 100 to 150 pitches from people every day to be featured in some way. And I noticed that there was a lack of people who had set up their own businesses emailing, and B, the number of people that emailed that were entrepreneurs, their emails would kind of get lost and their pitches would get lost, because you're competing with so many people and you're competing with PR agencies that are doing this on a big budget and have been doing this for years and years and years. And you really have to make a first good impression. Mm-hmm. But if you've never done PR, how would you know how to do that? It's something that you learn. It's not something that you're just kind of boom, born with, and that's it. So I set up the Publicity Project to help empower women in particular to do their own PR and to reap the benefits of PR without having to, shell out thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever on PR.
That is so amazing. Because I know originally when I first got started, one of the ways for me to get my business out there was through PR. So I reached out, and like you said, your emails get lost in that whole translation of like, there's so many other people trying to do exactly what you do. So if you don't have the best headline, if it's not to the point, people don't care. They are like, on to the next. I got to go look at other things. So I love that you teach that, because it is something you learn. And a lot of people aren't just like, okay, I know exactly what to do when it comes to PR. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of mistakes, and sometimes even some failures to eventually get in that door.
And also, I get emails from PRs that this is their job and they've been doing it for years and they still get it wrong. I think there's this idea that if you hire a PR agency, then it's foolproof, and if you can't, then you're out. But it doesn't work like that. And I think that what I offer, coming at it from a journalist point of view, is really that insider insight, because there are patterns in PR that you notice that really don't resonate with the journalist, but PR agencies keep doing them, and times are changing and businesses are changing and the way that we run our businesses are changing. And so I like to think that I give my clients and the people that, do workshops with me and whatever, that little bit of an edge, actually. So not only put them on par with PR agencies, but just give them that slight edge in front, because they're hearing it directly from, I don't want to say the horse's mouth, but
but they are.
They are, yeah.
I love that. Now, how did you go into working within being an editor, into PR? How did you get into this?
So I was in digital marketing. Mm-hmm. I was doing digital marketing for a travel company, and I hated it. And that's nothing against, I love travel and I have nothing against marketing, but the company that I was at wasn't right for me. And I walked around with my resignation letter in my bag for 6 months trying to and I was like, this is going to empower me. And anytime anything happens, I'm going to whip it out and
hand it to him.
Yeah. And just go. And anyway, that didn't happen. I watched Netflix on my phone for 4 months. At my desk every day, and I just one day decided, that's it, I don't have anything lined up, but I cannot be here anymore. And I left, and I knew I'd always wanted to be a journalist, but I didn't have journalist qualifications. I hadn't done anything in journalism before. I hadn't studied journalism, anything like that. I always thought that it was probably a bit out of my reach. And one night I was knee deep in fear about the fact that I'd left my job and all that kind of had worn off, and I was on Twitter and I saw that someone from Marie Claire had tweeted saying that they needed an article by 6 a.m. the next day because someone hadn't filed in a deadline, and could someone do it? And so because they needed it so fast, they didn't check a portfolio for me, luckily, because I didn't have one. And I filed the copy. I worked all night and I filed the copy the next day. They took a total risk on me because they had no choice, really. And it was just right place, right time for me. And asked me if I wanted to carry on writing for them after that. And that kind of snowballed. So, and I picked up, newspapers and other magazines. And but it's always been on a freelance basis. It suits me better. I mean, I do not suit the 9 to 5, set. When I was in marketing, I was ill all the time, and I was anxious and I was tired, and I felt that there was something wrong with me, and that I was, I would always say maybe I'm just too, weak for the world. But actually I'm not. I'm just, too strong for that outdated way of working, in my opinion. So
wow.
Freelance has how I've always done editing and journalism. And I guess that the Publicity Project for me was a natural progression because they feed in so well together. They're both about curiosity, they're both about learning, and they're both about teaching. And it's nice to do both sides.
I love that you said that, because what happens, first of all, I love that you had your resignation letter in your pocket, ready to go. Because so many of us have been thinking or dreaming of leaving our 9 to 5, especially ones who are draining us of our souls. We have been thinking and dreaming about it, but we're so nervous. We're so fearful. So can I just go back a bit?
Sure.
How did you feel when you gave your notice? What did that feel like?
I was so I decided the night before that was it. I was like, right, I'm doing it tomorrow. And I got in and I immediately asked for where my manager was, and they said he's off sick. So I was like, right, no, I'm still doing this today. So I found the HR manager, and she said, I can speak to you in a few hours. So I sat at my desk, literally shaking for a few hours, and went to see her. And I had this whole speech prepared, and it was going to be, this big that moment, that dramatic moment that you dream of when you're like, and I've had enough, or
and here you go.
when you're trying to get back, when you speak to an ex or anything that's dramatic and you plan it all out. And I got there and I was so nervous that I could barely speak. I basically flung my letter across the table and said, I'm leaving. And then immediately had to leave the building to go and get a drink because I was so kind of adrenalized. And I felt totally empowered and liberated for the rest of the day. And then I got home and felt absolutely paralyzed with fear. It kind of suddenly sunk in that, yes, amazing, I'd taken the step to leave the job, and now I was stepping out into this abyss, and I didn't know what was there. And while I was in the job, that seemed only exciting, and I was like, there are a plethora of opportunities there, and all of these opportunities are just over the other side of this door. And suddenly I felt like I opened the door, and actually at that moment in time, you can't see any of the opportunities. You just know what you've left behind, so you're in total limbo. So it was a real roller coaster for several months, actually, of yes, and then fear, and then fear, and then fear, and then wow, that's amazing. And I'd feel great. And then I'd go home and think like, oh my God, no, but then tomorrow I've got no structure. I started running for like 3 hours in the morning because I was like, I have nothing to fill my day with.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a real mixture. And I am definitely guilty of painting that moment in this kind of like rose tinted light when I tell people, because I know that it gets that reaction. But in all honesty, it was just as terrifying and isolating as it was exciting and liberating.
I love that you actually said that, because so many of us think entrepreneurship is this beautiful thing, and we're like, automatically I'm going to go into entrepreneurship and it's going to be perfect and everything's going to pan out right. I'm going to get my clients, I'm going to make money. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, what the heck did I just do? Why did I do that?
Exactly.
Why did I walk away from my money?
Exactly. And I think that, you know, when you are walking away from something, you're only thinking about all these things you want to push away from. And actually, you know, I don't regret anything that I did at all. But if I was to be in that same situation again, I would definitely also think about the pulls, because I think that you can get very caught up in like, anything is better than this, anything is better than this. And you forget, okay, yeah, it does give me some kind of safety. And, you know, it does give me, you know, somewhere to go every day, or a routine. And I think that there's that bridge between one side and the other, which is leaving, you know, your full-time job and properly immersing yourself in your business, where you are kind of a bit back and forth, and it is nerve-wracking, and, you know, it isn't all liberating, exciting, running towards, you know, something great. It is a lot of, you know, nights awake worrying what you're doing, and it is a lot of, yeah, it's not a straight trajectory straight to stardom.
I love that you said that, because so many people sometimes just paint the beautiful picture. Now, when you started your business, did you have I know you quit and you're like, okay, what do I do next? But did you create a plan eventually, like after you quit your job? Did you create some sort of plan for yourself, or how did you get yourself into, okay, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it, and create something from there?
So I am notoriously not an organized person.
I pretend to be, but I'm not either. So yeah. I'm with you.
I am not a planner. I am in some areas of my life, but I'm not a planner really. So I'm a planner, like, you know, if I was going on a holiday, I will know exactly what I'm doing, but in day-to-day life, I'm not a planner. And so no, I didn't have a plan. The plan was to leave my job, and that is where the plan ended. It was like step A, leave your job, and then that was it. So, and then obviously the Marie Claire thing came up kind of by chance. And then after that, the plan was be a journalist. And I think that I didn't have a plan, but I was really relentless with checking, you know, Twitter, with following everyone that I was interested in, with every editor, with every, you know, journalist, seeing what they were doing, seeing when they needed someone. And I have got every single like writing job in journalism that I have got through social media. And the same applies to my business, that it is all through social media. So I think I was just relentlessly on social media. I didn't sit down and plan out this kind of set route, because I wanted to be fluid. And I think you can get attached, you know, it works for some people, and I'm totally not knocking it, but you can get very attached to an outcome. And then when things go, I keep doing hand movements and
no worries. I'm always moving my hands. I'm always like
so I think that you can get attached to this straight line that goes from A to B, and actually, you know, being an entrepreneur is going from A to Z to C to D before you go to B sometimes. And not having a plan has allowed me to be more fluid, and has meant that opportunities have come up that if I was solely focused and blinkered on this one outcome and this one plan, I wouldn't have deviated to. And I think that, yes, it's good to have a loose plan, and definitely with the Publicity Project, I have more of a plan, because, you know, other people are involved in a different way, and you want to have a plan for them, and you want to give them some kind of security and safety and knowledge that things are kind of set, and I'm not just winging it, whatever I'm doing. But definitely up until that point, there wasn't ever really a plan, and it worked out quite well for me.
I love that, because so many people sometimes they think like, okay, my plan is going to go like this. It's going to be perfect. Everything's going to work out right. And sometimes that plan, like you said, you go from A to Z, and then you come back to C, and you go back to B, and then you're all over the place. So I love that you just said that, because it is so true that so many people are not necessarily going to go by their plan. Some people are going to have a plan and then create a whole new plan or a whole new idea or a whole new vision, depending on where they're at and where they evolve to. So that's awesome that you said that. I love that. Now, what about your support system when you quit your job and you decided to go into freelancing? What was your support system like?
So when I quit my job, I had also actually just gone through a big breakup.
Oh,
So one of the main sources of my support was gone. I luckily had and have parents that said, and my dad is very entrepreneurial and he's set up several businesses himself, so he totally understands that need to branch out on your own.
mm-hmm.
And my mum totally doesn't get that at all, but she still understood the need in me. So I had a lot of support from them. And they said, don't worry, leave. You're totally unhappy. And if you need to, you can move back home, and we'll support you in that. I had friends that were so bored of hearing how much I hated my job day in, day out, that they were like, yes, leave. Like, they were my biggest cheerleaders. And I had people even in my job who were unhappy themselves, or just saw how much I didn't fit that lifestyle and that job, that said, that still check in to see how it's going. But I think that in general, day in, day out, the support system that I've had is really from me going out to seek support when and where I've needed it. So sometimes you want, maternal support, and sometimes you want the support of another business owner. Sometimes you want the support of another journalist. Sometimes you want the support of a therapist or a life coach. I think that when you need it, and you'll work out who you need support from. And I have had life coaches and I have had therapists. And the other thing as well that's important to point out is that sometimes, like, the people that I felt were going to be my support, I barely speak to anymore, because as your priorities change with your business, and there's not set boundaries of 5:30, I'm all my friends, and I'll see my friends, and I'll use all my evenings, and it doesn't matter, and all my weekends are set to them. It all changes. So I think that, for me, this constant in my support system probably has been me understanding that I need to be proactive and kind of going out to get the support that I need.
Wow. I love that you said that, because that is so true. Your support system changes, especially when you start your own business. So sometimes you are in a situation where the person from work was your support system, but then the schedules change. I mean, there's so many different things that will cause your support system to change. And I know for me, sometimes I have people who are just more inspirational, more motivational to me, who can encourage me to get back up. And then I have those others who give me that tough love that's like, boom, you can do this. Stop complaining. Stop even chatting about it. Make it happen. And I'm like, okay, I needed that. So that's amazing that you had a awesome support system, but deep down inside, that, your support system was going to continuously change, and eventually, over time, you discover like where you need support from, and you're able to go out and search for that as well. So that's important that people know that.
Yeah.
Now, how long did it take for you to actually make your business full-time, to where you can make that full-time living? So many people are worried about, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to make a living off of this? How long did it take you?
So I guess that what's important to point out is that I run the Publicity Project and my journalism side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And I never set up the Publicity Project with a want to totally get rid of journalism. It is sort of one big thing, because me being in journalism is what gives me my USP in the Publicity Project, and what keeps me up to date with things that are going on, which enables me to help clients. So the Publicity Project and journalism obviously collates into a full-time / more than a full-time job. But in all honesty, it probably took me to totally be self-sufficient and then be able to also splash out on things that I wanted to spend money on and luxuries about 2 years.
Okay. Makes sense. I think what happens is people will go into entrepreneurship and automatically think that this is going to be profitable. This is my $1 million baby. And I love that you said it took 2 years, because it's realistic. It's honestly what so many new entrepreneurs have to do. And I know for me, I mean, it just took me maybe a year to really understand how to make the money properly, so then I could go and grow. And, it takes time, and you have to build those systems in place in order for you to do that. So
and I think what happened with me as well is that when I set up the Publicity Project, initially, I actually made a big chunk of money straight away. And I was like, oh, great, I've cracked this. Like, what are people going on about that it takes, XYZ amount of time to get a business to work? This is fine. And I'm going to, book a holiday to the Maldives and whatever. And then there was a period of a couple of months where I literally made nothing. And I was like, oh, this is what it is. So I think that was an interesting moment for me, because really you have to follow the undulations of your business for a little while anyway before you can determine whether you're really making money, because you can make £1,000 in a week, but if you make nothing for 2 months, then that £1,000 has to stretch.
Absolutely. And that's what people forget. It's like, you have to plan your budget and your money out completely different than what you did when you worked at your 9 to 5. So you're not receiving that paycheck every 2 weeks, every once a month or once a week. You're receiving money, and you have to plan efficiently, and you have to be smart about, how am I going to make this stretch, or how am I going to hold on to this money just in case I don't make a single dollar or a single pound in the future? Like, what am I going to do to make this work? So yeah, I get it. I get starting and like, what the heck? How am I going to do this?
Yeah. And I think as well with that there's I know there was a tendency in me, and I've spoken to other entrepreneurs who have had similar experiences, that when that happens, you're tempted to open up your business. So let's say that I said the Publicity Project is just for women, which it is at this current time. It's just for women in the lifestyle sector. So after, in that period of time when I wasn't really making any money, I was like, right, maybe I need to make it for women and men, and I need to say this, and and it was really tempting to make those changes, because I felt like maybe I'd niched it down too much. But actually now the results, like, I'm seeing the results of me having niched it down, and it was the right thing to do.
Knowing your niche is so important. I think that's what people forget. Like, as female entrepreneurs, we think, okay, I need to have everyone in here, or why am I having only these certain people come through this tunnel, like my sales funnel? But when you niche it down, I always say the riches are in the niches. And if you can identify that, then it might not come right away. It might not come tomorrow, but eventually over time, you're going to have the right tribe versus having the individuals you don't really want to work with.
Exactly. So true. It is. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
But I see it in journalism also, when I'm coaching, that people they come with ideas to pitch for their business that are so broad. And when I say, niche it down, and there are 7 articles in that one article that you think you've got about your business, and people are so nervous to do it. But actually you see more results when you can say, okay, I've said these 7 things, and I can pick it apart, and this one thing can be sent to Vogue, and this one thing, and you can split it out. But I think generally across the board, people are scared about niching, and yeah, I get it, but I had to, only when I learned for myself, I was like, oh,
I know
Yeah.
that's what they're saying. That's what they're talking about when they say know your ideal customers. Like that's what they mean.
Exactly.
Now, what about managing your time? I know you mentioned in the very beginning that you were running for 3 hours and just trying to figure out how to keep your schedule full. So how do you manage your time now?
So it varies. I really, again, on the subject of kind of being fluid, I time block where I can, but I also, if I know that I'm going to have a day where I'm not sure how things are going to work, I'm just accept that I don't know how things are going to go. And kind of roll with the punches a little bit. But in general, a general week for me is Monday and Tuesday totally dedicated to coaching calls and digital workshops for the Publicity Project. And I really just throw myself into that totally. And it's nice to be in that headspace. And I can be doing back-to-back calls. And I also try and write my newsletter, which goes out bi-monthly. Initially, I wanted it bi-weekly, and I very quickly realized that it was better off to be bi-monthly for the moment.
It could be crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And then 3 days a week I do journalism and the Publicity Project kind of mixed in. And those days I won't take coaching calls, but I've got some collaborations with like bigger brands coming up next year for the Publicity Project, so I'll work on that, all the behind the scenes stuff that isn't kind of person to person stuff. And then it does spill out onto the weekends quite often, depending on how much kind of journalism stuff is going on. And also I now employ 2 people, which so that I was really putting it off because it's cost money, and I have a business that doesn't have very many overheads, that suddenly to employ 2 people is a lot. But it is definitely the best money that I've spent since being in business, because it just means that there's these 2 things that are constantly running in the background that are off my plate, and are just at the beginning of the week I go yep, and then that was me doing tick signs, and then I just know that thing is done, and it saved me so much time. But it probably saved me more time than it actually takes time to do, because you spend so much time worrying that you don't have the time to do this one thing. If that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. We have always preached about how having a support team, I call them success teams, really help you to get to where you need to go. I think as entrepreneurs, we sometimes are nervous about delegating. We're afraid that if we give up that task, if we give up that project, that we're going to lose a sense of control. And we start to freak out because we're like, well, what if they do it wrong? I could have done it right the first time. Or what if I give them this project and, just things don't go out the way I want it? Like, what do you do? And I think that giving up control and being able to delegate, it just helps you to grow your business and actually scale, versus having all these tasks where you're stuck to the computer or stuck to one-on-one meetings, whatever it may be, because you don't have the support to help you get to where you need to go.
Exactly. And I mean, you will always know your business best. That is just how it works. And I was always like, but I know my business best, and my business is so personal, and I'm my business. And I do know my business best. But, the woman that I employ to do lots of my social media stuff, she knows social media better. She knows, the app, the apps that you can use to plan things in advance. She knows the things that get engagement. She knows that better, and not because it's specific to my business, just because it's her area of expertise. And handing that over to her and working collaboratively with her has just been so great. And it's been an ego check for me, because I've always kind of said, I can do it, and I do this and I do that, and it's I love telling people what I do, and them saying, how do you fit all that in? But I think we can really glorify busyness, and it isn't healthy to look at busyness that way. And actually being able to delegate and say, giving this person this task to do doesn't make it any less my business. It doesn't make it any less of a success if it does succeed, is such an important part of business growth and personal growth.
Now, I love that what you said, you mentioned okay, me having help and me having support doesn't make me any less of a business owner or owning this portion of my company. It's just helping me to have that support. So, what do you recommend for new entrepreneurs who are feeling overwhelmed? They have burnout, basically burnout stage, and they're like, I don't know if I should hire someone yet. I don't know if I should even reach out to someone. Like, where and how should they know when it's time to delegate and reach out for support and help from someone else?
So I think, I would wake up and write a to-do list for myself, and it would have so many things on that I could never give my full attention to any one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see that the work that came out of that, I just always knew that it could be better, and everything was rushed. And, I'd write a newsletter on the tube and it would have mistakes on it. Or I would work really late into the night to get something done, and I'd read it the next morning and it wouldn't make sense because I'd, written it at 4 a.m. And I think when you realize that you aren't able to give your full attention to things, and that there are certain elements that are suffering because you can't give them your full attention, those are the areas to look at in terms of delegating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I initially did a skills swap. I was worried about the money. I get it. It is, a big chunk of money to kind of suddenly send out of your business bank account. And so I initially offered skill swaps to people in business groups. And I said, I would be happy to look at PR pitches for you in return for XYZ. And then I because there was no commitment from me and there was no physical money leaving my hands, and it was a really good way for me to sound out, okay, yes, this is helpful to me. And I did skill swaps where I thought, actually, no, that isn't helpful to me. And I did skill swaps where I felt, actually, this is highlighted to me now, but I don't need anyway to do this part at the moment. So I think it's always good to and skill swaps are such good ways anyway for you to create community within, with other entrepreneurs. But I think that my main piece of advice would be, if you are thinking about it, set up a trial period with someone, whether it's a skill swap, whether it's a paid trials, what's the right word? Trial time.
Mm-hmm.
Trial time.
Trial time.
Yeah, I think that it can be very nervous to say, I'm giving this whole thing to this person and that's it, and it's off my plate. So just say, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to try, delegating this to this person and see how that changes my work, and see if I can then give more time to things. And now the way that I do it is I write a list of, say 10 things, and then I pick 3 things on a day. So I pick on Monday, like 1, 2, 3. If I get through those 3 things, then I take something else off the other list. I don't have that list of 10 things in front of me, but only delegating things that need to be done to a time scale to other people has allowed me to be able to work that way.
Wow, that is just such valuable information that you just shared, because again, so many new entrepreneurs go into business and they need help in certain areas, but again, they have no idea, or sometimes they don't have the funds to be able to outsource. And so doing that swap, doing that time trade almost of, I'll do this for you if you could do my marketing, or I'll do this for you if you can help me to organize my business or do my accounting, whatever it may be. Doing those trades, especially when you don't have the funds, like I didn't have money when I first started, I really had to do a trade. It can really help you to grow your business. And sometimes you even find your success team by doing those trades or giving people a trial period and building out from there. That valuable information. And I'm so happy that you shared that with our audience today, because that is one of the best ways to really grow within your business in the very beginning when money is tight, or if you're still trying to figure out what to do or how to hire the right person. So
exactly.
Very
and the
valuable.
other thing that it will do for you as well is give you a sounding board for your own product.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was doing a skill swap with this woman that now does my social media, at the beginning we just did a skill swap, and that was almost like a stress-free way for me to realize, oh, I need to tweak this on my workbook, because she didn't understand that. And there was nothing for me to lose. She wasn't paying me. It was a very friendly arrangement. So she could give me that kind of feedback on my product that if you were a paying client, you wouldn't, feel was your duty to do, or you would feel, oh, that's annoying that workbook is set out like that because I don't get it. So it had so many positives, but yeah, definitely having it as a sounding board for the product, as well as like a byproduct of giving, this woman some of my social media to trial out.
Now, you have been doing freelance for a while and you've been able to make your own schedule, do your own thing. What is your favorite part about being your own boss?
I used to tell people it's that going to a yoga class at midday on a weekday and it being like a private yoga session, because it was just me, maybe one other person, and the yoga teacher. But I think what I love is being able to work to my own clock. Like, not everyone, I am really creative in the morning and I really flop in the afternoon. So that's when I do kind of more admin-y stuff that doesn't need me buzzing with ideas and excited and inspired. But when you're in an office, if you're in a creative job and you've got to deliver something creative to a deadline like that, it's very difficult. And I think that if I'm having a day where I wake up and I am not inspired, I will not work that day, and instead I'll work a Saturday. And you don't.
That's so good. I want to just kind of touch on that, because you mentioned when I don't feel inspired, I take a Saturday versus a Monday or whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. If people don't feel inspired, all it does, it keeps you from creating at your highest value and being able to be your best self within your business. I just love that. Sorry, had to jump in on that.
Yeah, it's totally true. And I think that sometimes in a job, you can feel like, oh, I'm not good at this job. But actually, maybe you would be good at that job if you did it between 12 and 6 a.m., which is when you are creative, and everyone is different. And I think, so that really for me is the biggest thing, that it allows me to feel confident in what I do, that allows me to feel worthy, it allows me to, it takes off so much stress. I was ill every single month when I was in a full-time job, and I do not get that now, because even the pressure of, if you wake up with a cold and you get a cold over the weekend and you're worrying, oh my god, am I gonna have to take a Monday off, and what's my boss gonna say, that perpetuates your feeling ill. Whereas if on a Sunday you feel a bit ill and you're like, I'll see how I feel in the morning, if I'm not feeling very well, I'll go back to bed. Even that tiny thing, that tiny message to your body, it takes off some of that illness, I truly feel, because your physical and your mental are so connected. So I think for me, it's my general sense of well-being in my work and in my life and my body and my mental health.
I love that. It is so, so, so important to take care of you, and being able to do that at your own, just like you get to make your own decisions on, do I need to take more time for me? Do I need to do that? So just love that you shared that. Now, what advice would you give a female entrepreneur who is looking to start their business? Maybe they're in the hobby stage, or maybe they're in their business, but it's really stagnant. It's not moving. What advice would you give a female entrepreneur?
So I would say a couple of things. I would say join a female entrepreneur group. Be around people that are going through the same struggles as you at the same time as you, or have been through the same struggles that you previously. Join a group, have people around you that understand and that can say to so your family can say, keep going, you're doing a great job, but they don't know, they haven't been in it necessarily. And being around people that can say, I am going through the exact same thing and I feel this way and this way and this way, you being able to open up to them and give advice is sometimes very beneficial for you. I also would say patience. I know it's such a cliche thing to say, but patience with yourself. If you're not working out, if you've got a problem that you're trying to work out and you can't get through it, step away from it for a minute. And there is an answer to to most things. So, and there is a way to do most things, and you will find a way to do it, but sitting there and banging your head against a brick wall, trying to force yourself to do it, is not the best way to try and do something. So I would definitely say to allow yourself the space to step away from something in order to kind of work through it a bit later, to more effectively. And I would also say it's so good to have a couple of people around you who understand your business that you can use as a sounding board. So not another entrepreneur, but so I have a couple of people that I talk to, and I don't coach them, but they have businesses that they want PR for. And I talk to them about what I'm doing in my business. I say, okay, I'm thinking about doing a series where I talk to women that have done their own PR successfully. Would you do that? Or I'm thinking about doing a series of Instagram lives where I get people to come on live with me and I talk them through a pitch that they have. Would that be beneficial for you? And then people on the outside that aren't involved but are your demographic will give you those answers that sometimes you can't get for yourself anyway, because they are the people that would buy your product. So they would be able to tell you what they want from it.
Oh, absolutely. Having that soundboard, first off, it will just help you to write all of your, whether it's sales copy or blogs or whatever, you'll be able to even write effectively because you know what it is that they want to hear and you are able to connect and relate. And the other part, patience, I can't tell you. I did not have patience with myself when I first started my business. I was so hard on myself. And I know so many other new entrepreneurs are so hard on themselves because they think they have to do things perfectly. They think they have to make everything right. And when you're not patient, what happens is you just beat yourself up and you keep yourself from getting to that next level. So yeah, it's really important to implement those things immediately into your business. Now, tell us how we can stay connected with you and also work with you. Tell us more about how we can stay connected.
So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is the Publicity Project and Instagram is _publicity_project. And on both of those two things, the group is quite nice because it's closed. So it's a nice open space for people to come and ask questions and no one else can see. But on both of those, I do workshops on a Monday at 1:30 GMT time, but they stay obviously around on Facebook for people to watch back. And then as well as workshops, I do physical talks and things like that, which I keep updated on my website. They're all at the moment in London. And also people can work with me on a one-to-one basis. So I offer various packages where we work together to, give you the confidence to, we put a strategy in place, but then also the confidence to execute that strategy, because it's all very well having a PR strategy, but if you don't have the confidence to execute it, then the strategy is pointless. So we work on kind of, strategies to get people to their PR goals, or, outline the PR goals, because not everyone knows how to create their PR goals or what is realistic.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to share with Corporate Misfits how you got into your business and how you started the Publicity Project and how it has truly helped make a difference in so many people's lives and businesses today. So thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to share all your details so that our audience and viewers can make sure they stay connected with you. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Corporate Misfit Podcast, we invite you to check out the Corporate Misfit Club. The Corporate Misfit Club is the essential resource for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start or grow a business they actually love. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur in your startup phase or simply thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship, we've got your back, girl. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive members-only discount perks, and unlimited tools. We also have a supportive community of women where our members share stories, experiences, their wins, and business tips. The Corporate Misfit Club is the perfect place to be to start, launch, or grow a business. So check it out at corporatemisfitclub.com.